Good morning, my moths. The Christmas stockings, I have them kitted up, and I'd like to get them out by Monday. This is Thursday, December something. And so I'd like to get them out by Monday for the deadline for the Christmas rush. Now I'd like to go over what's in the kits. First, I'll go over that and show you the wool, and then I will give you some tips and tricks and the instructions how to do it. So, see if I can get that. Everyone loved the kitties, and some loved the one with the deer. Now, what I've done is I've given you both patterns. You can choose or you can mix and match. Plus, I've given you some extra kitties. So you have lots of kitties to choose from. I'll have to put that down. I'll go through what's in the patterns. More kitties. You'll recognize that one from the hook mats. Oh my. Lots of stars, and the stars are in the one with the deer as well, and so are the hearts. These are with the kitty stocking, and there I've given you the deer and the birds and the animals to go with it. So you can actually choose which appliques that you would like to put on, and you can make a completely different design. Now, the other thing I wanted to go over, and this is important, there are two stockings, two of the red, and the red is beautiful. I don't know how that shows, but it's like it's not a bright red, it's a really nice red. And it's nice and thin. It's really nice. The only problem is it does fray. It's a woven thing. Now, in some of the kits, not all of them, there are little tiny pinholes. And really, you can't even see that very well. I can put something white under it. There. Can you see that? Just a little tiny pinhole. And I couldn't not do the stocking. I lost my pen. Good. I couldn't not cut the stocking because I wouldn't have got hardly any from this really nice blanket because they are so long. They're very long, very not straight. There's a lot of waste, an awful lot of waste. So I only got about 8 or 9 out of that blanket, and I probably would have only gotten 2 or 3 if I would have not did the pinholes. And of course there is a lot of waste because the blanket, it's not long enough so that you get 3 sets for a length or 3 sets for a width. So they're really difficult to cut. So you have two stockings cut. There will only be one that has a little pinhole in it, and I have that marked with a pin. Now, when you do that, you most probably can position your whatever it is right over that hole. So use the one with the pins for your front, and then you can position your applique pieces over it. Okay, so if you would like to put your own backing, you have enough to do 2 stockings. two fronts and put your own backing on. Now, I have given you extra thread. I've given you the extra applique pieces so that you can have two that's not alike. You've got lots of thread. And you have a large piece of wool to cut the appliques. Now, where is my photos? In the original stockings, there are some darks and there are some grays. Instead of that, I used this fabric, and it's modeled, as I always do. You see there's lights and darks. So you can choose what side. When you cut your pieces, you can, that's sort of gray, but then it's dark on this side. So you can choose, and it will look really good. And I prefer the model pieces because it looks like old faded wool. I find that the really dark on the red, it just stands out so much. I don't really like it. Like, I like that much better than that. And that's because that's a solid black, and these aren't. So you have lots to cut because, I mean, you're going to get a lot of pieces out of that. Okay, so remember that when you do your ordering, some of you had wanted 2 kits, so I just wanted to mention that and tell you. Now, let's see, I think that's everything for that. I will show you when I do the hints and the tips about stitching and all of that. I just want to show you the what's in the packages, what's in the kits. That is such a beautiful blanket. I don't know how that survived, that I didn't use that before. Red is a very difficult color. You really don't get very many nice red blankets. You get thick ones like the Hudson Bay blankets and things like that. Those are pretty thick for stockings. They're not that good. They're a bit bulky. But that one is just perfect. And I didn't even know I had it, actually. There's many blankets that I don't know I have. Now, the next kit is the stocking with the pennies on. And these are the very, very last of my old army blankets. They were better as far as getting more kits because, of course, they're shorter than the long stockings. And that's the American Woolens. April 30th, 1943. That's how old this wool is. Wow. Contents 100% wool. Philadelphia Quartermaster Depot. Oh my, isn't that nice? That should be saved. 1943. So, with this kit, oh, and I wanted to mention this. Someone will be getting part of the logo. I just happened to cut it. I didn't really know I was cutting because it was on that side when I cut it, but someone will have that logo, whether you want to put it outside or inside. And this is the khaki army blankets. Oh, it's just beautiful, beautiful wool. So nice. And there again with the Christmas stockings with the red ones, I had to sort of try to do it on the straight of grain. These are woven so nicely and so nice and woven that you can cut them whichever way you want. Okay. You do know that the thread doesn't come with this. Where's my picture? And this is very difficult. The reason I don't have a good picture is because I never intended to make these again. And I gifted my original to an old friend, an old moth. She's not old, but we've been friends for a long, long time. Long time. So she has this in her house, and she messaged me and said that she was so pleased with it, and she keeps it up all year long. So the reason that you don't have the string with this, my age-dyed string, is because of these little pennies. There's 22 of those little pennies on here, 22 sets of the big ones and the smaller size. And you really can't do the thick string with those small pennies. So this takes your embroidery floss. And now I suggest that you just use bits and pieces, whatever you have on hand. In the original, the red I did with a black floss, and it made it stand out. And you can actually use black floss. Just be careful that you need different types of floss, because you don't want your floss to match your penny, because the stitching disappears. So just look in your basket of threads and see if you can find some odds and ends. It's a perfect way to use it up. Just remember, don't use the same color floss as the penny. Now, when you put your kit together, you'll notice and actually download it from Moths, and then you can go like this, you know, and check. But they are scattered, just scattered along. They're not in rows, just scatter them. And do the top ones first, these, and then fill these in with your little ones. So it's exactly the same with this one. If you want to use your own base, I have given you enough pennies for 2 stockings. And I have the red thread, and the red thread only goes, which is very difficult to see, it's only the red thread on top there to match the pennies. So remember, for a kit, you can either or. I mean, you can put the back and front together and make it, or you have enough to make 2. Now, I want to give you some tips on stitching as soon as I get cleaned up here. Oh, and I should mention, I have quite a few of these. Well, sort of quite a few, not a lot. But I have 3 or 4 of the green army blanket wool. And those will be listed, and they will say green army blanket. This one is khaki army blanket. So I only have 4 of those. The exact same thing. You can make two stockings. Everything is the same, it's just the color. Okay. Now, the first thing I want to show you is if you're using your own backing. Now, I did this with cotton. Cotton's not a, actually cotton, if it's a thicker cotton, would not be bad with your red ones because that's a very thin wool. This one is a bit thicker. Just sort of have your weight on the back the same as your weight on the front for the fabric. It will hang better. So I haven't included the actual stocking pattern, but it's so easy. I mean, just take your fabric and rough cut it. And if you want the pattern to keep, just trace it or cut it. And then you can use that piece of fabric as your pattern for next year if you want to make some yourself. Okay, so in order to put them together, let's say that you do have a fabric or something like that. So you would put your pennies on and you would stitch them. You have to make sure, where am I? This is so difficult talking to myself. And then having to adjust the camera and see where I am. Okay, when you put your pennies on and when you put your wool applique pieces on, you have to be mindful of this. These are going on before you put the back of your stocking on. So you need to stay away from that edge. You're going to stitch that edge and then it's going to be turned, right? And you're going to have to give a little extra for that. So make sure that you stay away from that. And of course, stay away from the top. This is going to be blanket stitched. That's very important because you don't want to have to take your pennies off. You don't want your pennies or your wool applique to be in that seam where you're joining your front and your back together. Okay, let's say that you have fabric. Before you cut your fabric, before you stitch your fabric, if you need to turn down, do that. You see I have that edge turned down. This is turned down so the raw edge is not showing, but it's the same as however you make with the length that you would make your blanket stitch, because this will be stitched, blanket stitch, and then you'll go right around and you'll hide this and have your blanket stitching going that way. So this gets on the outside, okay? This is your outside. This is where your pennies are. Let's put a stick pin in for the pennies. So you have stitched all your pennies on. Everything's done. Making sure that you have a good thing. The two right sides go together. Put your edge to edge. Make sure that you do that. Your edge. And you notice I have a little swoop in the stockings. That is just to make them look nice when they hang. I don't cut my stockings straight across. So you would put your right sides together, and that's the wrong side. Pennies are underneath. I would suggest if you have a sewing machine and you don't mind using that, I would suggest doing a very narrow stitch here. Perhaps even less than a 1/4 inch. Do as small a seam allowance there as you can, because you don't want to cut it off. Usually we'll do a 1/4 inch and then we may trim it when we're turning, but just do as very small as you can. You can blanket stitch if you would want the inside to look finished. Blanket stitching is a must, or you can zigzag or do something. It's a must with this red wool because it frays so easily. This is fine. This will not fray. Nothing happens. You know what the army blankets are like. So you would go around, cut, and then you would turn it. And then for the very last thing you do your top. Now, I haven't included, this is Avery's Hey Diddle Diddle, and it's in pretty bad shape. And you'll notice in your, where is it? In your model dark wool where you cut your applique pieces for the red, you'll notice that there's some little white pieces. And I left that in, and it's the same with this one, you notice? Because I think they're Christmas stockings. They sort of represent wool, snow in the wool, right? Little snowflakes. So I left that in. You can cut around them or whatever. Now the red doesn't have it, but the applique has the little pieces. And the same with this one. The outside has the little white pieces. And it's really a part of the blanket. I'm not quite sure why, but it's pretty and it's perfect for the Christmas stockings. So as you can see, Avery's is pretty bad. So when you get to the edge and you want to put a hanger, you would you can use your thread. So you could, there, okay. Put your stitch here by the end. Just put it around your couple times, 3 maybe, and fasten it, and then just blanket stitch that. That makes a perfect little hanger, and it's very strong. And usually when I did these years ago, I had a little piece, and I found it didn't work that good because of this. It pulled out. So that is a very good thing, to use the thread instead of using a piece of wool. And I did blanket stitch these inside, you see? So it's a very thin, I actually did that by hand. And you can do it by hand. It's just that the sewing machine is much quicker and it's much stronger, I think. So definitely you don't need to do the inside, but this one, absolute must. You need those seams covered. So I think that's it. And now for the red ones, it's exactly the same. Right sides together, your applique is going to be under here and it's going to be all done. Just keep it from the edge. These are slanted, so try to slant to make them fit. And actually, the reason I gave you all of those patterns and the extra templates, the extra wool, I'd like you to make your own design. I don't like doing things and just giving them to you and saying, here, do what I did. I love to see what you come up with. I love for you to think, what if? What if I did that? What if I placed that here? What if I put all kitties? Just play with them. It's fun. And there's just one more thing that I need to tell you. I have a couple which I will put on as seconds, and they will be reduced in price. And this is what they are. There is one of these, and for some reason, which I don't know, it has a spot there that won't come out. Can you see that? it looks like glue maybe. It's not paint, but it's just, I believe it's glue of something. I don't know. So I have marked that. And this is the wrong side. So you would put this like this. This is the right side. You put your other one here and your pennies underneath, and then you turn it, and you won't see it. This one also has a little bit of a hole there, quite a large hole there. I didn't notice either one of those when I was cutting them because I cut them that way. I didn't notice that. So I'm going to mark that down and have that as a kit. Everything else is the same. You get another good one, and you get 2 sets of pennies, the thread, everything, enough to make 2 stockings, but it'll be marked down. The other thing is, for some reason, I did my odds and ends of my army blankets, and I had 2 different shades, right? Can you see? I don't know if you can see. It's not that much to make a difference. You certainly could use them together, but those are going to be marked down too. So I have a khaki and I have a green that's going to be marked as a second. Everything else is the same, your pennies, everything. And I think that's it. Oh, no, one more thing. Okay, I don't have a lot of these, of the red ones. I'm not really sure how many I have. No more than 9 for sure. I may only have 7. I don't know. So after these are done and they're sent out, I have this blanket. You see, there's a hole too. It's so difficult with these blankets. See? So difficult to cut around those holes, especially with the long stockings. I mean, a stocking takes this much. That's 2 stockings. So I'm going to try and cut around that. So I'm going to dye this one red. Pink is lovely for a red with acid dyes. I overdyed. That looks very gaudy on there, but it's nice. And it will dye red very nice. It will be that color red. And it's a nice wool. It will do stockings really well. But I won't probably have those done to ship. I definitely won't have them to ship before Christmas. I may have them on before Christmas, but I usually don't ship on Christmas week or even the week before. It's just too busy out there, too many packages. So I will have some more of the red Christmas stockings, exactly the same. You get both patterns. They will be cut. You'll have thread, all of the patterns, everything. It's just that I'm going to dye them with this pink. And these were not dyed. They are a beautiful blanket. I mean, in all the years that I have done penny rugs and collected wool, very, very few red blankets. And that is a perfect one. That is beautiful. Okay, so they will be listed later today. The history rugs and the wool bundles are arriving. Some will receive them today. And of course, as usual, I didn't get this tracking number sent out, but I will send them out. Maybe I'll get them done today. I don't know. I'm so terrible with those tracking numbers. Okay, that's about it. Thank you very much. I hope everyone has a wonderful holiday. Of course, I'll be on moths before Christmas, but I hope you enjoy the stockings. and happy stitching.